I'm really excited to speak with you today. As an inspiring entrepreneur myself, I find it fascinating to listen to a successful young entrepreneur like yourself. So I'm looking forward to our chat. Tell us about your enterprising journey. Have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I got into SEO at 14. I wasn't an entrepreneur at 14, but I got into it at 14. I was even at 13 though, I was starting my own thing. I just didn't know there was a word for it. But all my adult life, I've certainly always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even I think when I was 16, I realized I really wanted to kind of have my own business and do that. So I guess that was kind of the catalyst for it all.
Oh, brilliant. At such a young age. Not many young people know what they want to do at that age, but it's great to see that you had a clear vision. You mentioned SEO. You clearly have a talent for that. Can you share with the rest of us what that is, please?
Yeah, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. So whenever you Google something or you search for something, a bunch of results come back. Now my job is not the paid listings at the top, but the all the listings below the paid listings. It's our job to make sure that our clients, the brands that we work for or own, come up at the top. Why? Because that gets the most clicks. So paid gets about 20%, organic gets about 80%. So for a brand like the Fragrance Shop, who are a UK brand here, they would be making 20 to 30 million quid through the organic search results. So it's our job to make sure they make more.
Brilliant. You learn something new every day. That's something I've learned today. Your journey has not always been smooth. At some point, you found yourself without a home. So how did you go from that situation to running a multi-million-dollar company today?
Yeah, I mean, it is still staggering, I think, to look back on it and digest that journey. But when I was 17, I just left my role at a search company to start StudioHawk. And I put all my money, all my savings to starting the company, obviously. And unfortunately, my mum was homeless herself, and dad didn't have a place, and his partner that we were staying with kicked me out because she said I was baggage from the old relationship, and that was that. So off I went, and it didn't really kick into, I think, the first night where I realized, oh shit, I'm on the streets. So slept under a bridge and couch surfed for the better part of probably 6 months to a year. So that was kind of like my first opening, and I tried to get jobs there, but no one really wanted to hire a 17-year-old kid. And I really just had this idea. I was like, look, I can either just accept that life's really, really crap and I've been dealt a really crappy hand, which, would have been acceptable. But I was like, well, I may as well give this thing a crack, right? I got literally nothing to lose. So if this doesn't work out, like, I'm just back to square one anyway. So I did. I went up to every networking event. I went everywhere to meet every single person. And the great thing about working in tech, right? I would rock up to these meetings with the grubbiest clothes, and you should have seen my shoes. They were like tattered beyond recognition. But because I worked in tech, right, everyone's like, oh, that's okay. That's just a tech guy. So I kind of got away with it. And yeah, I did. I met a lot of people networking and, just finally found someone willing to give me a shot, basically pay me like way lower than minimum wage, but to give me a shot. And that was all I needed. And, the story's pretty straightforward from there. I got that one client, did so much work for them and started getting referrals, so much so that I was able to get a share house. Once I got my share house, that was the moment of, I guess, the real growth started there, because I just remember getting that share house and just bawling my eyes out because I had my own place, even though it was the crappiest little share house. And that was when the journey really began. And I realized that, I could take this to another level.
That's incredible. It's such an incredible story to hear that, you've had grit and determination and it's taken you places. And it's definitely a great quality to have as an entrepreneur. How did the enterprise partnership in Australia support you?
Yeah, so when I was in that period, I was just probably after my first year. I just had my share house, and I found this program, and they were taking young entrepreneurs and helping them kind of grow and scale their business. So I was great at SEO. And I don't want to sound cocky when I say that, but I was probably the best I've ever been at SEO at that time. Even now, when we've got 60 staff and all millions and millions of revenue, but that was the best I'd been at SEO. Now the team's a lot better. But what that program taught me was business, which is just as important, because you might be incredible at SEO, but if you don't know how to hire people, if you don't know how to do basic accounting principles and things like that, the business will fall over. So that program really taught me those business fundamentals of how do you do invoicing, what the hell's GST or VAT if you're in the UK, and where does this all play in? Where should I be spending my money? How do I hire people? Are all clients good to get? Are there different clients? Just so many different considerations. I helped learn and have mentors that I listened to and did really well out of.
Brilliant. It's not, I won't call it cocky. I think you should be proud about your achievements. You've achieved such great things, and it's great that you were able to get mentorship. I'm very pro mentorship. I totally 100% agree with it, especially in the business world and being an upcoming entrepreneur. How is the expansion, the business expansion going in London?
Yeah, really, really incredibly well. So there's, obviously most of the team, about 50 staff are in Australia, and that's growing at about 40% year on year. So that's really, really positive growth there. In the UK, it's 5 people now in the UK, which is crazy because when I came here, there was 2, now there's 5, and that's growing at like double, probably a rate of 200%. Yeah. So we expect to have 10 within the next year and just kind of grow that from there. So the UK expansion is going incredibly, incredibly well. And especially in the small, medium business sector of the UK, it's a huge market for us. It's got a lot of potential.
Brilliant. I mean, you're one of the youngest people in your company in general. How is it like leading such a huge, number of people?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. Like I would be one of the youngest people in the whole organization. We have people as old as, late 50s in the company. And in terms of leading them and working with them, it sounds weird to say, but I've never really had that much of a problem or given it too much consideration. I think in an organization, everyone's there because they're good at something, right? They contribute something. Now, I've always been good at leading the SEO team and working with the SEO guys because I know SEO. I've proven that out. I've done a lot of stuff in that field, and that's my mojo. And when it comes to leading others in the organization, I lead from experience and I let them make the calls. I'm not a micromanager. I'm just a terrible. If I had to be a micromanager, I would be terrible at it. I'm very big picture detail. And I'm like, look, Matt, I want you to do this in the content department. How you do that is up to you, right? And even what we do, we kind of come up with that idea together. So it's never been too much of a problem. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, when I started, maybe it was a big thing talking to clients and customers. They would be like, how old are you? And I'd be like 18, 19, super, super green looking. Yeah, and that would be a bit of a problem. But now I think I've proven myself out to a point where we're one of the largest SEO companies in the world. That age kind of works in my favor sometimes.
Great advice on there to other people who might be not necessarily in the same position, but hoping to be in a similar position. Have you noticed the difference between the support for enterprise in Australia and the UK?
That's a good question. I think in the UK there's a lot of different programs in like the startup space, so a lot of different ideas and funding and stuff. In Australia, they're only just kind of getting started with that. The program that I did was very, very new, it's been a different landscape. Though I will say also in the UK, there's a lot more people, coming back to your mentoring point, willing to mentor young people, which is really, really incredible to see. And I encourage every young person to reach out to these people, because the only reason not to is because you have too much pride and too much ego. And if you have too much pride and too much ego to reach out to someone that might be able to help you, your business is never going to work. I listen to literally everyone. I have like an advisory team of 6 people that all know so much better than me. So yeah, make sure you listen.
Those are some wise words. We celebrate Global Entrepreneurship Week every year. It's online again this year due to the situation we are in. How important is a worldwide event like this?
Well, it's super important to get entrepreneurs together and passionate about things, those communities of learnings and sharings and encouraging each other, because it is a lonely journey. You just have to face it. It's an incredibly lonely journey. So the opportunity to connect with other people, to learn from other people, and to even just, collaborate together is, a huge opportunity. You just never know who you might meet.
Brilliant. I definitely agree with what you're saying there. Mental health has become a popular topic of discussion, especially during the pandemic. So from listening to your journey, how did you keep your morale up? It must not have been easy mentally.
Well, mental health is always a difficult part of the journey. And I'm not afraid to say that I was able to get help when I was on the street as well. I had social workers and a therapist that was working with me. Even now, we have therapy programs within StudioHawk where we encourage people to reach out and seek help, and StudioHawk sponsors and pays for the fees. It's not a bad thing. It should not be looked down at. It is a thing that everyone goes through in difficult periods of our life. And it's a way of unpacking things and understanding things. And it really is just a way of solving problems more so than just putting them in the back of your mind for them to fester and become worse. So yeah, I would say I don't think I've met an entrepreneur that doesn't have some kind of weird quirk about them or something like that. So I'd encourage, if there is something like that, to have a chat, unpack that with someone, and continue on your journey. Don't let it affect what you're doing.
Brilliant. That's some great advice, and I really appreciate that. Even to myself, I'm going to take that advice. Do you sometimes feel like you are living in a fairy tale? I mean, how do you keep yourself grounded?
100%. Constantly feel like I'm living in a fairy tale, and that one day I'm going to wake up. I guess it's just one of the things. I've come from absolutely no money. I mean, I would go to the bakery and try and get leftovers from Nancy, who would give them to me. And to now where, I can reasonably do whatever I like. The company's doing really, really well. I still own 100% of it. We don't have any investment or anything like that. So I think the thing that keeps me grounded is my coming back to that ability to listen. I'm a part of a lot of different business groups and connections like EO and YPO, which are both great hubs for kind of people at that different level. So YPO is, I think, 10 million quid net worth, and you kind of networking with a lot of people there. And again, it's a great way of getting connected in. But outside of that, what I like to do every year, which is a weird one. So every year I try and do I call it Poverty Week. So I try and live below the international poverty line for a week. And anytime, because I mean, my life, like I'm going to Spain on Thursday, I just come back from somewhere else, anytime you feel yourself getting a bit too disconnected, or you complain about a flight you're on because it's, cramped or something like that, that really realigns me. So just living, like that again reaffirms why I do what I do. And it's not because of the money, it's because of the difference we make in people's lives. So yeah, I really like doing that, even though at the time I hate doing it, because it is so beneficial.
No, that's some great way to do it. You have to keep yourself connected to the rest of the world. Not everybody lives the way you live. And so to keep that, and like from where you've come from, you definitely understand how it feels like from one end to another. So I like the way you keep yourself grounded. What piece of advice would you give to the young entrepreneurs at the Global Entrepreneurship Awards evening?
The one thing I would say that I always say that I cannot say enough of is the quote, most people overestimate what they can do in a year. We just do. We look at a year time and we go, New Year's resolution, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to make 50,000 quid, or I'm going to make enough to sustain myself full time. And that's a big lofty goal in your first year. I mean, I didn't make that much in my first year. No way. But if we look at what we can do over the next 5 years, you would be amazed. I went from StudioHawk in its first year, made about 20,000 quid, about 10,000 of that was expenses. So 10,000 quid profit, not a lot of money. However, in our 5th year, I think we did something like 1.5 million quid. So don't look at what you can do in a year, look at what you can do in 5 and set those long-term goals and visions. A year's a short amount of time. You blink and you miss it. 5 years can be a life-changing amount of time. Just stick with it.
That's some great advice. Definitely look what you've achieved, incredible things in the last 5 years. So all entrepreneurs should definitely listen to that. Finally, what's next for you? I mean, you're only 23, you're very successful.
Yeah.
What's in store for you and your business?
So, I mean, there's a lot hopefully in store for the business. I mean, the UK expansion is going incredibly well. We're well positioned in our 2nd year to finish up the year by doing 300,000 quid turnover there. Australia's about to hit 5 million quid turnover. I think what's next for me is the US expansion and really starting to channel and use what we've built. Like we were named 2 months ago the best large SEO agency globally at the Global Search Awards, which is like a big international award show. And so I just want to use that to its most potential to grow the company. And the other thing that I'm working on at the moment is a lot in the employee culture space. So I'm working on a software product with a few partners in that space. So stay tuned.
Oh, we'll keep an eye out for that. I mean, I wish you all the best with that. Listening to your journey, you've shown that no matter your circumstances, where there's a will, there's always a way. So you're such an inspiration to all the young people wanting to start a micro business. So thank you so much, Harry. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.